House money. Media. Welcome to episode 76 of Real Estate Maximalist. I'm your host, Alan Corey. I've been investing for over 22 years. I retired just after 4 rental properties, and you can do it too. You're going to learn that in today's episode. I have a guest that you may be very familiar with if you've ever turned to YouTube for real estate help. Michael Zuber of One Rental at a Time joins me today to discuss his rise and fall in the stock market, his real estate horror story, what is he investing in right now and why, and how he's preparing for the recession. Here's a peek at what's to come. So how are you gearing up for the recession now?
Oh, man, I'm ecstatic. I just bought my first property out of the MLS in over 3 years.
Yeah.
So there was a statistic that came out yesterday that I'm like, this is the green light. It said 84% of buyers think it's a bad time to buy. I'm like, thank goodness. I have been waiting for this moment. I am now only competing with 16%. That is an awesome feeling.
That and more in just a minute. But first, a word from our sponsors.
I'm Jasmine from Jasmine Mortgage Team, and we love working with first-time home buyers and new investors. Really, anyone looking to change their life through real estate. I love helping people make really smart financial decisions. I have worked with Alan and his personal clients for many years on many deals, and I would love to spend some time learning about your journey and helping you achieve your goals. You can book a free consultation with us by calling or texting 404-600-1500. Follow us on Instagram at Jasmine Mortgage Team, or our website is jasminemortgageteam.com.
Hey, this is James and Emily.
And you've heard us on episode 72 of the Real Estate Maximalist podcast.
And we've just launched a course on teaching you how to manage your Airbnbs remotely. It is a video course. There's videos and then there are lessons that go along with that so you can read along. We have 10 different templates, a furnishing checklist, a cleaning checklist, a quarterly cleaning checklist, a quarterly maintenance checklist. We have all the tracking for spreadsheets. We've got some templates for guest messaging. And then we actually go through and show you like, okay, this is what you should be doing. This is how we find cleaners. This is how we find local handymen. This is how we schedule those people. We go through all of that process. Everything that we do, we have on there. We've covered all our bases and teach you how to do everything remotely as well. And for the listeners of this, you can go to rethinktheratrace.com/maxi to find our course for $3.99. And you're also going to get some bonus content there as well.
You can find that at rethinktheratrace.com/maxi, MAXI.
My Real Estate Maxis, you're in for a wonderful show today. Michael Zuber, a legend in real estate and someone that you should know if he's not on your radar. He runs the YouTube channel One Rental at a Time, wrote a book, One Rental at a Time, and he's been investing for 22 years, just like me. But before he went deep into real estate, he started with stocks during the dot-com boom of the early 2000s, and a stumble in the stocks, however, led to a pivot in investing strategy. Let's hear it from Michael.
It's kind of funny because it kind of feels like a deja vu moment for me, Alan, because my journey started after the dot-com crash, where I successfully grew $7,000 into almost 200 grand. I felt like a genius. And then I was proven I wasn't doing the work. I was essentially speculating or gambling. You can call it whatever you want. And I quickly lost 80%. And I remember being defeated. I thought stock market investing, day trading was going to be my path to a better future. And to have that ripped away from you after having a couple of years of wild success was very humbling and a little depressing. I remember going to Borders bookstore, which they still had physical bookstores at the time, and finding the purple book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that changed my life. I read that book 20 times in a row. It introduced the concept of real estate to me. I was 30 years old at the time, which is kind of embarrassing, right? I have an advanced degree. I have an MBA. I have an econ degree. I was a paid accountant out of school. So finances were my thing. But to have this purple book introduce cash flow real estate is really humbling to think about now. And it set me on a new trajectory. I did spend a year looking in my backyard, which I live in the Bay Area. It doesn't cash flow. It never really has. And ultimately, a year later, we finally found Fresno, California, and we bought our first property on Norris Drive. So my journey started like many of you, full-time employee, growing family, just got smacked in the stock market, and I wanted to try something different. So that's where it started. If I got one thing across, it would be getting to 4 rental properties changes your life. I made the mistake of when I started talking at real estate meetups, and you write a book and you retire, you get invited lots of places. So I used to, kind of, I don't know, pound my chest, talk about unit counts and gross rents and this, that, and the other. And people are generally excited for you. But I would always pay attention after the events. And after the events, I would hear things like, that is good for them, but we can't do it. That, this, that, basically a bunch of excuses. So what you hear is it's too big. People can't make the leap from 0 to hundreds. So now I've changed my entire talk track. I only talk about getting to 4. All I want you to do is get to 4, right? Get to 1, then get to 4. If you get there and you want more, grats, 10's your next number. I never talk about more than 10 because I want people to take action. So that's kind of the big thing. And how do you get to 4? It's the same old rules, right? Like I have these rules now. These are called the ORAT rules that I actually printed out because I get asked about. These are the 7 rules of one rental at a time. Number 1, focus. Please establish a buy box. 2, daily discipline, 20 minutes a day, every day. 3, grow your network. Meet 2 new people a week. A lot of new people get into the business and they say, I got the agent, Michael, I need help getting a lender, but I got the agent. I'm like, well, you shouldn't have an agent. You should know 20, 30. I know hundreds, if not thousands of agents by now in Fresno, California. You never know who's going to get the pocket listing. You never know who's going to get the lead. You don't have one of anything. Meet more people. You need to meet other investors. You need to meet property managers and contractors and painters. And you should never stop growing your network, right? That's the network of real estate. 4, learn average deal first, then only do great deals. 5, bad things will happen. Sorry, learn and move on. 6, this is a 5 to 10 year commitment. This is get rich for sure, not get rich quick. 7, and the most important one in today's environment, audit your personal network. Who are your 5 friends? Show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future. Ask yourself, are they helping or hurting you? Some of your friends in your social media feeds are toxic. You got to watch your network today. The world's about to get scary. Recessions are scary. Bear markets are scary. Are your friends, is your YouTube content, is your podcast helping or hurting you? A lot of people got to block some channels, man. It's scary out there.
Where would you recommend new investors go to expand their network?
They just need to ask for referrals. Every opportunity they have of meeting someone, ask for referrals. Another agent, another broker, another this, another that, another title. Just never stop growing, right? When you sit down and you go, hey, I'm going to invest in Fresno. Who do I know? There's going to be a couple people you know and a lot of people you don't.
Yeah.
Never be afraid to ask for, hey, who are 2 other people I could talk to? People in real estate love to talk, love to hand business cards. It shouldn't be hard. It should not be hard to meet two new people. If you're going full time, you should probably try to meet 2 new people a day. And by meet, I don't mean physically shake their hand. It could be a virtual introduction.
Right.
But yeah, you got to never stop growing. I still try to grow my network to this day. And that's, 22, 23 years later.
Wow, what a great list by Michael Zuber there. The 7 rules of one rental at a time. So now we're going to hear from Michael about when you should quit your day job, which he and I actually have similar thoughts on as well, and a little bad story with his wife, Olivia, on their first investment.
People who want to quit their job right now, I typically tell them, I get it, but stay on so you can get 1 more mortgage or maybe 2 more mortgages and then leave.
I'm not a big burn the boats fan, but again, that's my story, right? We were both employed. Being employed is how you get loans.
Yeah.
Use your job as fuel. You hate your job, great. Every day you go is reason to focus and do your work. You can replace it. You don't need hundreds. You certainly don't need thousands.
Right.
So just get after it. Yeah, I've never told anybody to quit their job. I think it's dangerous. I wrote a second book called 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires. There is a story of somebody who burned the bridge, racked up $50K in credit card, put a mortgage down. It worked out, but damn, that's a risk I couldn't take.
Right. Yeah. At least my experience, I fell in love with real estate. I wanted to do more, and I just saw burning the boat was like
slow it down. Yeah.
Yeah. Slows it down. Yeah, exactly. Wow. So how far away was Fresno from where you were living?
Fresno's a haul. It's 2.5 hours one way. So if we were going to see one house or one duplex or whatever, it was a 5-hour day minimum. And we did that a lot in the beginning years. It's 2001, 2002.
Okay. Yeah. So right after the dot-com boom, you were like, let's switch to real estate. Was this a single family?
It was. Yeah. 1818 Norris Drive East, 93703. People can go look it up on Zillow if they wanted. We bought it for 107, rented for 1100. And the story of Norris Drive turns kind of sour, and it was Olivia's fortitude that allowed us to keep going, because after we buy Norris Drive, we clean it up, we stick a tenant in. That family ends up getting divorced the first month they're in my property, and the wife takes off. The husband becomes a functioning alcoholic and stops working and stops paying rent. And, I'm in California, so even back in the day, it took 3 months to get him out. $1,000 with an attorney. And I remember walking into that house, which we hadn't seen since we bought it and stuck them in. And I remember walking in and just seeing wine bottles in the wall, just total destruction. And I remember going, wow, I just lost all this money in the stock market. Now I've lost more for my family. What's Olivia going to say now? And I remember walking to the car ready to give up. And she said, did we do anything wrong? And we hadn't, right? We did the right credit checks. We paid a property manager. There's just no box on a form that says, are you going to get divorced in 2 weeks? We missed that. And sure enough, Olivia says, let's try one more time, which we did. And the rest is history. That one decision could have sent us on an entirely different path. And thankfully, I give her credit every time I tell this story, because I wouldn't be talking to you today if she would have even paused. I would have sold that property and wrote a loss. Because again, we didn't know Fresno. We had no relationships. We'd never been there. It was just a cheap local area, relatively local, that we could buy it. We had enough cash to buy 3. I think it was Norris, Ferris, Terrace were our first 3, and then we were out of money. Then we realized we could recycle capital. So we have 3 houses. We do some cash out refis. We get to 8. It's now 2006, and we're trying to buy our 9th house. We go to a Bruce Norris event in Santa Clara, California, and he basically says California's in trouble. And he introduces this concept called the affordability index. I'd never heard of it. But basically, he points out that California is unaffordable and at statistically low levels. So I go home. I love numbers, and I realize Fresno is at a record low affordability. And I go, this is not good. So we take Norris Drive, which was the first house we bought, and we 1031 that money into an apartment. That worked out well. So we took our next 7 homes and did the same thing. We went from 8 single-family homes to 80 apartment units right before the crash. So we owned no single-family homes when the crash came. We were in apartments. And that was pretty awesome.
All right, we got some great nuggets of wisdom here. The affordability index. Basically, it's can a person in this town with the average income of this town afford a house in this town? Well, if that's out of whack, obviously the home prices are going to have to drop. And he recognized that. And the reason why apartments are better is that the people renting apartments, they're not looking to buy a house. They know they can't buy the house. It's unaffordable. So it creates strong demand to rent, and apartment buildings are obviously built to accommodate that strong demand. And then Michael also talks about a 1031 like-kind exchange. This is a very popular real estate move. Basically, if you sell a rental property that you've never lived in or haven't lived in for the past 3 years, it is an investment and it'll be taxed as if you're selling any other investment like your stocks. So if you've had it for over a year, typically that's going to be a 15 to 20% tax hit on the capital gains. If you do a 1031 exchange like he did, all you have to do is buy another piece of real estate of equal or greater value, and you're just deferring and snowballing that tax hit later down the road, which allows you to have a bigger down payment on that next purchase. So something to talk to your CPA about, but also know that there's ways out there to avoid taxes as long as you reinvest the property that you're selling and buy another property within a certain time frame. So then I asked Michael, why are you buying even if you know that the market is going down? Like, isn't that going to affect your net worth? And I loved his reply, and I 100% agree with it.
I think net worth is a totally bogus number that's made up most of the time. I care about cash flow, and our cash flows went up significantly. Rents went up significantly. Tenant quality went up significantly. So yeah, while our net worth, I'm sure, went down, my cash flow went up, which is what I was playing for.
So you may be asking, how can your net worth go down when your cash flow goes up? Well, think of it this way. You buy a property or portfolio properties that's $500,000 and it's kicking off $1,000 of cash flow. Well, if the market goes down a little, it could be now worth a $400,000 property. But over time, even though the property value has gone down, you're probably raising rents or becoming a little bit more efficient on expenses, or you've become a better landlord. So now you're probably able to get $1,100 or more out of that property or portfolio of properties. You're not even monitoring what the housing price is doing. If it's going up or down, it doesn't matter because all you're focused on is how can I squeeze a little bit more money off this, whether that's reducing expenses, improving it to attract a higher quality tenant, or just doing your annual bumps in the rental income. So that's what he means by that.
Our portfolio more than doubled over the course of the Great Recession. We started borrowing private money. We did hard money first and private money, because what people don't realize in a recession is lenders turn off, right? Even if you have the money in down payment, lenders don't want to lend, and that's going to happen again. So we did seller financing, and we did hard money. We did private money. Yeah, we bought everything we could. One thing, because I'm a voracious reader, one of the things that I remember reading about books in the 80s and the S&L crisis and other real estate events was there was a lot of these successful people that would always say, I wish I bought more. And I told Olivia straight up, I'm never going to say that. So I can say to this day, we bought everything we physically could. We borrowed money. We mortgaged our cars. We borrowed from 401ks. We did everything fundamentally possible. So I won't say that. We bought everything we could.
That's awesome. So how are you gearing up for the recession now?
Oh, man, I'm ecstatic. I just bought my first property out of the MLS in over 3 years.
Yeah.
So there was a statistic that came out yesterday that I'm like, this is the green light. It said 84% of buyers think it's a bad time to buy. I'm like, thank goodness. I have been waiting for this moment. I am now only competing with 16%. That is an awesome feeling, because everybody else is sitting on the couch afraid. I'm going to go all in, and I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to pay list prices. I'm only going to do the best of the best deals, but I'm going to write a lot of offers. I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to build a lot of wealth because everybody's scared. And if you watch my channel, I've been the last year, I took all my apartments and put it on 30-year debt, all below 4%. I cash out refi buildings that I own free and clear on purpose to stack cash. And now I'm ready to go shopping. I've got 7 figures plus to go deploy, and we're going to deploy it.
And so that MLS, that's a apartment building. You're only buying apartment building.
No, I'll buy whatever's the best deal. This happened to be a house. I actually think apartments today are the worst thing to buy today, as we talk November 2022. I think apartments are fundamentally broken. I think they've had unrealistically low caps. I think they've had wild rents assumptions. Think they have crazy low expenses. I own apartments to this day and will own more in the future, but today's not the day to buy apartments. There's a lot of pain coming with bridge debt and bad assumptions. I don't think I would touch an apartment today. They're about to go on sale, but it's probably a year and a half away. So I'm buying residential today. I'm not going to look at commercial because I expect massive pain, and I bought them before. Residential and commercial are not on the same cycle. Certainly in my market of Fresno, California, they operate differently. And, I think pain's going to come to residential first. We already saw 84% of buyers leaving the market. So residential will feel the pain first. So I'm going to buy there. And then when commercial cracks in 18 months, I'll buy there. So that's the first decision. And then in my buy box, I look for what's called a great deal. What do I mean by that? Well, I think every investor needs to figure out what an average yield is. So that takes time, right? You look at your buy box, you do the math, you take 60, 90 days, and you go, hey, my average buy box, Alan, is 6% cash on cash. I call it yield. Okay, great. Now that you know average, your only job is to find a great deal. So if average is 6, you need to go find 8s and 9s. It's not easy, but it is possible. I have no interest in being average, but I will work to understand average and then buy great deals. So that's what I do. I only buy great deals, but I understand average. I never flipped a property until after I retired. I've now flipped 55 or 56. I will flip occasionally, like the deal that I just closed, I will flip because it just makes sense for an owner occupant, not a landlord. I'll be aggressive the next couple of years. Typically, the stuff I'm going to hold, like add to my rental portfolio, will be stuff on seller financing. Stuff that I have to use my cash instead of getting a hard money loan, I'll probably flip just to keep the money moving appropriately.
So you said you have kids.
Yep.
Do you include them in your real estate? Are they interested?
No, we tried. Anybody doing real estate and trying to get their kids involved, I can tell you what not to do.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So don't take your daughter to a cockroach-infested, foreclosed property. Don't do that.
Okay.
Take them to the pretty ones. Yeah, my daughter Teresa, shout out Teresa. She's awesome, wonderful, but she will never do real estate because of that experience, right? We did that wrong. Shocking.
Yes. I always wonder because no one in my family does real estate. I learned it all by myself. Obviously, it's a passion. I want to teach it to my kids, but there's no interest. And also, if I shove it down their throat, they'll definitely not like it. So
I have a buddy who has actually done it quite well. So he shows them the after, not the before, because the before is ugly. But what he did very creatively is he stacked. So he went to the bank and he got $100 bills and he stacked them on the kitchen table after rent collection.
Oh, nice.
And his kids asked, "Hey, Dad, what's that?" And then he got, "Well, that's the rent we collected." "Well, what's rent?" And it's $100 bills is a way to get a conversation started. So that seems to work, folks. Stack $100 bills on the table and have your kids ask you about it. That was a good, shout out Dion for that.
Oh, I might have to try that. Is that Dion McNeely?
Yeah, Dion talk. Yep.
So there we have it. Talk about Dion McNeely, who's actually a guest on episode 60 of Real Estate Maximalist. If you want to check that out, he's also a good friend of Michael Zuber, and you'll see him often on One Rental at a Time. Michael is a very respected investor, someone I basically agree with pretty much everything he teaches. We are aligned. I think it's because we started at the same time. We've been doing this for 22 years. Follow him at One Rental at a Time. That's all of his social media handles and his YouTube channel. And we learned so much from them. His 7 rules. We learned always be buying. Bad things are going to happen. Get over it. And also a little nugget about how to get your kids involved in real estate as well. Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Maximalist. I'm your host, Alan Corey. You can follow me at Real Estate Maxi on Twitter and every social media platform as well. And check out the Real Estate Maximalist website when you get a chance. I'll be adding new stuff there every single day. And thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next week.